It was called the John Sinclair Freedom Rally. And we were blessed with the presence of John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
And a long list of very
along with
notable.
Stevie Wonder, Phil Oakes, Archie Shepp, Bobby Seale, Allen Ginsberg, etc., etc., etc. 3 days later, I got out. Well, this benefit was planned. This rally had been planned in the summer of '71 to put pressure on the legislature because the previous year there was a bill to remove marijuana from the narcotics law. See, marijuana was regarded as a narcotic until 1972. They said it was a narcotic. That shows you what a lying mess this whole thing is, because if anybody knows anything, it's that marijuana is not a narcotic. It's not even toxic. In fact, there's nothing wrong with marijuana. It's a healing drug.
It's a positive, yeah.
It's a plant. So I insisted from my perch in the Jackson Penitentiary that we have a big event in December to put pressure on the legislature, because the previous year this bill sponsored by Perry Bullard had gotten to the point of a vote, and instead of voting on the bill, they voted to take a winter recess. And so what it meant to me was I had to do another year. Well, I didn't want to do a third year, so I insisted that we have a big event and put pressure and do whatever we could to put pressure on the legislature. In August, I believe, of '71, through some help with our friends, we put a full-page ad in the Detroit Free Press calling for my freedom and legalization of marijuana. So that was the big announcement that led up to this thing. Well, when John Lennon and Yoko Ono committed to playing this benefit, which was about a week before, the legislature knew that it was over by then. If the Beatles were coming to Michigan to play for this guy who was in prison, something was terribly wrong. And so on December 9th, the day before the rally, they voted to reclassify marijuana as a controlled substance. They removed it from the narcotics laws. On December 10th, we had the rally. On the 13th, I was released. On the 9th of March, I was released on appeal bond. Up until John Lennon showed up, they wouldn't give me an appeal bond. Mm-hmm. They said I was a danger to society. Mm-hmm. This was adjudicated by the local court in Detroit, the Michigan Court of Appeals, and the Michigan Supreme Court. They all said I was a danger to society and couldn't be allowed out on bond on this charge of possessing 2 marijuana cigarettes.
He passed 2 joints to an undercover cop.
Yeah, giving them away. I was charged with 20 to life until the day before my trial also. I should bring that up. For 2.5 years out on bond, facing the 20 to life sentence. And the day before the trial, they dropped that, but they wouldn't give me an appeal bond. So I did 2.5 years in prison. But at all times, we fought back against my imprisonment. The Free John Now campaign grew and grew. Every week there was some kind of event put on by bands and other hippies in Michigan in my behalf to raise consciousness.
Somebody jumped out at Woodstock and let everybody know about your
Abby
situation.
Hoffman, it wasn't somebody.
Yeah, it wasn't just somebody, but that was one of those times. Yeah.
Woodstock would have been August of '69. After I went in on July 25th of 1969. So that was a month later, Woodstock. Well, that was just one of... In Michigan, every week there was something. Because all hippies and all bands, I was a member of the band, I managed a band called the MC5. which was the #1 band in Michigan. So I knew everybody knew me. I also was the producer of the free concert series in Ann Arbor. We had free concerts every summer, every Sunday in the summer. So everybody knew me personally. I wasn't like some abstract person. I was like a guy who everybody knew. I was the manager of the MC5. I was the guy who got him the gig at the Grandee Ballroom. I was the guy who put him on the free concert in front of 3,000 people when they just came out of their basement. You know, so I mean, I had the support of all these people. So on the 9th, the legislature passed the bill. That was the turning point of this whole thing. And then my conviction being reversed and the definition of marijuana as a narcotic thrown out. That was the next step. The next step was when we passed the $5 fine in marijuana for any marijuana offense.
A civil infraction, $5 ticket.
Any offense of marijuana, whether you had 15 tons or 2 joints, $5. So that made Ann Arbor, we used to call it the dope capital of the Midwest.
So, like, there was about a 3-week period where there was no
laws. Yeah, God, thanks for keeping me on track.
Oh, no problem. I like
This
hearing
thing
about the
is
other
so
stuff.
rich. There's so many details that I get sidetracked. So for 3 weeks, from March 9th to March 31st, inclusive, there was no marijuana law in the state of Michigan. So we made the most of this. We put on all kinds of little rock events, dances where you smoked weed. We had a religious organization called the First Sentai Church of Ann Arbor, where marijuana and psychedelic drugs were the sacraments. So we were trying to create a foundation for people to protest their arrests by saying it was a religious thing. Well, after my conviction was overturned, we didn't need that too much anymore. We used it to own our property because taxes were not paid by churches.
Right.
So when we bought our 2 houses in Ann Arbor, we didn't pay any taxes because we were a church. So for these 3 weeks, we just had a ball. And then we thought...
And then there was no, like, horrible fallout from there being no
There was
laws
nothing
or
they could do.
regulations.
There wasn't any law.
Right, but I mean, like, because they didn't have any regulation or control or law on cannabis, there was no negative consequences to speak of.
Well, they didn't ride down on any of our events, no.
Right.
No, there was, but they were gonna, on April 1st, it was gonna become a controlled substance with a 90-day sentence for possession, 1 year for some other kind of possession, and 4 years for sale.
Or transfer.
That was the new law. So we thought this was supposed to go into effect on April 1st. We thought April 1st, that's April Fool's Day. We need to have an event to raise the middle finger to these people, and to say that even though they had changed this law, it's not gonna work any better of making us stop smoking marijuana. We're gonna smoke marijuana. We're gonna do it in public. We're gonna do it on the diag of the Holy University of Michigan. And fuck them all. Hash bash. Come on out and have a ball. So that was how the hash bash started. And the thing was, we kept it going every year. And even after we disbanded a couple years later, 75, I moved back to Detroit. But they kept it going. And then, Jesus, in the 70s, Adam Brooke got involved. And for about 20 years, he kept it going. Yeah. And then he brought me back in about 95.
Yeah.
I came back in on it because I had retired from activism because I was so disgusted with the people involved with this thing. because when they got the bill in the Michigan legislature to legalize marijuana, sponsored by Perry Bullard,
70s,
the opponents of Perry Bullard attacked him physically on the floor of the Michigan House of Representatives. And a senator, a black female senator from Detroit, maintained that marijuana led to heroin. And so this was the level of the argument in the Michigan legislature after we passed this other law to try and get it the rest of the way, which then took another 40 years.
Right.
Until 2018. This was like 1978. So there it is,
That is,
ladies and gents.
yeah, that is quite impressive. There was a little downtime, of course, because of COVID, but many people, yourself, Adam, many others still showed up on sacred ground nonetheless. And
We even did it when we weren't supposed to.
exactly.
Well, I didn't make it last year because I was in the hospital and they wouldn't let me leave.
And Adam did a really nice tribute to you. People can
He
still
said he
love
read
you.
one of my poems.
He did.
That's really sick.
It was apropos. Yeah.
Well, God willing, I'll be there this year.
Yeah, looking forward to it. 52nd Hash Bash. People have been working on this for decades. Part of the whole reason in the beginning, excuse me,